8:36 is the time. Let's have a look at the front pages before we review the newspapers. Telegraph, new Brexit deal between the EU and UK on Northern Ireland trading arrangements. That's the big political story today.
Yeah, we're expecting that at some point today. The Express also leading with Rishi Sunak's new deal. The PM says it's the best for Britain.
But is it the best for Northern Ireland? The Mirror reports that a 20% rise in energy bills will tip 1.7 more people into crisis.
The Sun reports that the family of murdered Joanna Simpson will meet the Justice Secretary amid fears over her killer's parole board.
And the Star, we've been talking about this today. You've been very good sending us in pictures of your doggies. They say dogs resembling the film and TV legend Lassie the collie, are no longer in favour with pet owners, with only 500 of the breed born last year. But they're quite randy collies, you know. They
They
cross-fertilise. No, I mean, if you go and get DNA tests on most rescue dogs, most abandoned dogs, whatever, they're randy old collies that have been running around in farmland. It's absolutely true. And then they copulate with anything, and then the dogs have all are part collie.
Your dog's other bit is a sausage dog.
It's a sausage dog.
The mind boggles. Very boggled.
It's mostly collie. That's Dawn Neeson.
Let's start, shall we, though?
And here's Christopher Biggins.
Yes, I love Christopher Biggins. Let's start with an opinion piece in the Express, Biggins, about Shamima Begum. Actually, James Whale's written this, and he's saying that she should be brought back to the UK.
Yeah, this wasn't the story I chose, funny enough. But it's the same page. But I mean, I sort of disagree with him on that. I think quite strongly. My story was, in fact, about Lady Hussey.
Yes.
She's now back in Buckingham Palace where she belongs, and I think it was terrible that what happened to her. But that was my story.
Let's talk about your story.
Yes, because
she was spotted last week getting off a bus at Buckingham Palace, which I thought was wonderful.
Wonderful. Well, she is a wonderful woman. Yeah. And, you know, when she had that confrontation, she, like all of us, I always say, you know, if you see someone in a national dress and a sort of a headdress and everything, well, where are you from? It's not an insult. It's an actual interest to know where you're from. And that woman just took it to one step further. Unfortunately.
But all of that is water under the bridge now, isn't it? Because they had a meeting, they met up, they're both happy.
Yes, yeah.
And they photographed doing it, so that's a relief for all involved.
It was a misuse of words as well, wasn't it? Because, I mean, where was she from? I presume she's from London somewhere.
She was British, yeah.
Yeah, she's British, right? So, but she kept on saying, but where are you from?
Yeah.
Which, you know, I suppose she meant, where did your family originate from or whatever. So that
just bad phrasing.
But let's not get into that row again. We want to get into the transgender row, Dawn, in the Mail. Basically, a former prisoner spoken out against putting transgender inmates in women's jail. Why? What's prompted the...
Yeah, well, this is obviously prompted by the whole Scottish gender assignation and sort of like choosing your own gender at the age of 16 and sort of like rapists who have transgender.
So basically, as a man or with men's bits,
yes,
you
absolutely.
can rape someone, be jailed for it, and put in a women's prison.
That's correct, yeah. This is a lady called Laura Goldsmith. She's 38 years old, and she's waived her right to being anonymous to add to the warnings. She was assaulted whilst serving time in HMP Newhall in Wakefield, West Yorkshire, by a transgender prisoner who is called Karen White, but used to be a man. And she was attacked in the exercise yard. I mean, sexually assaulted, and she is saying, you know, it's without doubt there are some men, predatory men, who are using the transgender legislation to prey on very vulnerable women in women's prisons. So good for her for talking out about it. As I say, she was in for GBH. She has drug issues. She's incredibly vulnerable, and in 2018 at Leeds Court, the person who was accused of assaulting her was given life for raping 2 women outside of a jail and sexually assaulting 2 inmates at Newhall the previous year. So good on Laura for talking out, because this is the thing that women are constantly being told won't happen.
So what's the solution then? Do we get gender-neutral prisons? Because quite clearly you can't going forward have this situation where transgender women who still have penises and have been convicted of sexual violence against women, then put in prison with women, and yet they also can't go to a male prison because they are transgender.
There aren't any easy answers, are there?
So presumably that's the simple solution: a separate wing of the ladies' prison that is for transgender people if they've sexually assaulted someone.
It's a very good idea.
Why don't they sort that out?
New rules are coming in today, aren't they, banning transgender women from female prisons, extended when they come into force today, and they will. Covering restrictions, it gets very messy, doesn't it? Covering restrictions, covering trans women who have male genitalia still or who have committed sexual offences. They will not be going to women's prisons.
Absolutely.
But, as I said, look, they're going to be in solitary confinement in any case, aren't they? Sex offenders often are. So they could be in solitary in a male prison if they've got male genitalia. I'm sorry, you're not anywhere near vulnerable women. I don't care. Sorry. Said it.
Let's talk about parking your car or having your car looked after at an airport, Biggins.
Well, this is an absolutely shocking story.
It's in the Sun.
Yes, in the Sun. And what it is, you take your car to this company called Kangaroo Parking, and you go away on your holiday. You take the car there first, you park it, and you think that's good. It's in a safe, because the car park looks lovely. It's in a safe place. They leave it somewhere. You see where it's being left, and you leave, and then within an hour, someone takes that car and puts it on the road.
What do you mean puts it on the road?
Well,
they use it for their own personal use.
Just parking it.
Well, you don't know that. They're not saying that, but I'm sure that they do use it for their own personal use.
They shift you from a car park to
a street, to a public road where it could be smashed. It could be all sorts of things could happen. It could be stolen. You're doing in good faith. You're thinking that your car is going to be in a safe place during the 2 weeks you're away on holiday, and I think it's discredited. They charge you a lot of money, whereas you could just park the car park on a single yellow line for nothing.
My question, if you were, what is your spirit animal? Bear with me on this. Do you have a spirit animal? If you were an animal, what would you be?
Is it to do with parking?
Lion. No, I'm on to the next one.
Oh, I'm sorry.
What would you be?
I'd be... Beaver. Something cuddly.
Do you know what I would like to be? And I love this animal, is a giraffe.
There you go. I was going to say...
You're not tall enough to be a giraffe.
How dare you?
It's your spirit animal. He might feel tall. He might identify as tall.
Thank you very much.
I was going to say otter, but it turns out otters are quite violent.
They're quite violent. Why would you be an otter?
I think they're so beautiful. And, there's some at the wetlands in London. If you go and watch them, they hold hands and they float and swim, and I love otters.
Yeah, well, this one's quite a vicious little thing, evidently. This is villagers in a village called Martock in Somerset are being terrorised by a killer otter from hell. It's not killing the villagers, it's killing their koi carp, which are very expensive things, evidently. One chap lost a koi carp worth £5,000 worth. Wow. One big feather. Any case, this is this
but I suppose the otter doesn't know that.
No.
The otter just sees a big juicy fish.
It might well have done. It might have thought, I'm going for Big Bertha today. What do you reckon? Any case, so they are now trying to do something, but you can't get rid of the otter because you're not allowed to do that.
They're reintroducing these.
Yeah, they're wonderful. There's a sign of a clean and healthy river. If you see otters on a river near you, then it means you don't have loads of chicken slurry and you do have healthy rivers. So I welcome an otter.
Obviously, because you have a
penchant.
So, you know, you'd love an otter. I'd love a baby shark.
Oh.
In the 1960s, there was an advert which was very magical. It was like the titles for Bewitched, the TV series.
Yeah, that's right. It was. Yes.
It was like stars and things.
Yes.
And it was. There was a little deer that jumped into.
And they said it was the happiest drink in the world.
Is it?
Yeah, well, it was. That was how they advertised it.
You know what I want to know? It says it's a champagne perry. What's a perry?
Well, I wondered that, and I wondered whether it was pear, but I don't think it can be. But I mean, I used to love a baby shark when I was a kid. They were very exotic. And interestingly enough, in 1977, they were selling 144 million bottles.
Gosh.
Which is a lot. And anyway, they're bringing it back. Baby champagne, which I say good luck to them, but there's so many now carvers and champagne, method champagne things, you know.
Prosecco type thing.
Exactly. Whatever. But anyway, it's a lovely idea.
Correct me if I'm wrong here, but isn't a snowball drink, isn't it Advocaat and baby champagne?
Yes, I think you're right.
Advocaat and lemonade.
Yeah.
Not that I know this, but
and lemonade, yeah. I only know it from my bar days.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
I know.
they were horrible.
Were you a barman?
Yes. Matter of fact, I thought I used to work on telly and do the tea time news and then work in the bar.
Really?
Afterwards, yeah.
What, at the radio station?
No, in a television station.
Oh, the television.
No, the bar was at a different, it wasn't at the TV station.
no,
It was a different job.
It was a different job. It was a completely different job.
Oh, I see.
Have you ever been a barman?
And the barman said to me, Eamonn, you serve them up the news until 7 o'clock and then you serve them up pints here from 7:30. I said, Pat, that's because that TV lark will never last. He said to me, oh, it'll last. And he pulled my dicky bow off me, that I had. And
Sent you home.
but I still think the TV job will never last.
Well, it's done you pretty well.
Being a barmaid was the best job I ever had. Absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
I was never worked in a bar, but I always wanted to open a wine bar because I thought that was really nice and chic and lovely in central London. And we couldn't find a proper basis
Biggins,
for it.
please do it.
Biggins
I'd
Bar.
come to your bar.
It would be wonderful, wouldn't it? Biggins Bar.
Biggins Bar.
Yeah.
If you need a barmaid,
Yeah.
You'd be the host, the main host.
Yeah, exactly. You know.
Somebody else have to do all the hard work. I mean, it's hard graft.
It is.
I was a shops girl back in the day. That
Were
was
you?
quite fun.
oh really?
I just mixed
Clothing shop.
No, shops.
Oh, shop
You know,
girl.
in the bar,
Oh
walked
my
around
God.
with the tray full of shots and selling them to the squaddies and whoever else was in,
So
in
little
the pub.
sexy outfits and stuff.
Well, just my uniform, but I did get hit on.
What was
It
your uniform, Isabel?
I can't remember.
Oh, I bet you can't. Funny enough.
No, it wasn't like a Hooters barmaid or anything.
My legacy has always been every time I see a top, a kitchen top, whatever like this, I just want to polish it. And in those days, there was
The
cigarettes,
chamois
there was
or-
ashtrays you had to empty and things as well.
No,
You're
gross.
always on the go. But that was
There
that.
we go.
So let's talk about our last day and when we, whatever you do with a mortal coil. Dawn, this is a funeral you want to talk about here.
Yeah,
or
well,
a
I
party
mean,
in lieu of a funeral.
It's actually a very nice story. I totally agree with what this lady's done. Lovely lady called Linda Williams from High Wycombe in Buckinghamshire. She's a 1940s enthusiast. She was diagnosed with terminal cancer. But rather than say for a funeral, plan a funeral, she decided to have a massive party for all her friends. And so but she got very poorly before the party was due, so she had a cardboard cutout of herself commissioned just in case she didn't make it. But Isabel, she made it, and she said it was the best night of her life. And it was all 40s themed, and she said, I don't regret it for a single second. I mean, sort of like, she's in a care home now, in a hospice, and she said it's the only way to go out. So
Bittersweet, isn't it?
it lovely?
What an amazing
We're having a
story.
big party for you, Eamonn, soon.
Well,
Is he on his way out? And no one's
wouldn't
told him?
surprise me. Wouldn't surprise me.
It's my worst nightmare.
11
Let's not
minutes.
talk.
11 minutes now before 9 o'clock. Bye bye,
Thank you
guys.
both.
You gotta-
Thank you.
Bye-bye, Eamonn.
Thank you, Dawn.
Bye,
and
Eamonn.
Christopher there.